Jude's my name. I'm a partner of HLB Man Judd. Been with the firm now since 1999. Some key things for students to actually consider when they're role-playing checking a client's impairment calculation is the discount rate. So you need to make sure that the model which the clients use to build the discount rate is compliant with the requirements of 136. 136 is very prescriptive. So you need to make sure that you've got a checklist and you work through and compare what the client's done. And you also need to make sure that the cash flow which they use matches up with the discount rate they apply. If the client's going to give you pre-tax cash flow, you need to use a pre-tax discount rate. You can't use a post-tax discount rate. Otherwise, you're comparing with apples with oranges. The other one is they don't seem to add back interest, finance costs, because again, the standard is very prescriptive. It says that the way you finance the business doesn't actually impact, shouldn't be taken into account. So then you should always add back interest. And what we find is that sometimes clients also forget to take away interest revenue. That's also, you earn interest from your term deposits, right? So that's another thing. And the other thing too to check for is the model. Sometimes when people get given a big spreadsheet, they say, well, this is perfect, it's got beautiful macros, you know. The first thing you need to do is check the formula. You'll be surprised at the number of times that we find formula errors in the spreadsheet, both adding down, adding across. Sometimes they've missed a cell, they've missed a row or two, and those rows actually have some high value impact numbers. And another thing to also be mindful of is the NPV calculation itself. And sometimes a client forget that, you know, first year may be zero cash flow, but then they don't put a zero there. The impact of just missing 1 year's worth of cash flow has dramatic impact. Best conversation starter is this thing called terminal value. The entire cash flow model hinges on there being a terminal value that's supporting the carrying value of the asset. You really want to have a closer look at the terminal value because terminal value is just a calculation. One of the, I suppose, war stories to share with the students revolves around actually the process of checking an impairment calculation. The first one, the client came to us and said, well, we're comfortable that we can use a discount rate of 8%. We looked at it and we just laughed because back in those days, interest rate was about 3%. We said, hang on, it's just impossible to use 8%. So we went back to them and we had toing and froing and they kept arguing with us. Then eventually we said to them, you know, there's no way we can accept 8%, and if you want to run with 8%, that's okay. They're your accounts, we can't force you to change them. Be aware though that it may lead to a possible modification qualification issue. On us saying that, they went back and recalculated it. We also gave them a model which we used to check the build-up of discount rate. They came back with a rate that was about 15%, which was within the parameters that we thought was reasonable. So we're okay with that. The cash flow itself that they then put to us, we then looked at it and said, we don't think that's right. Really, you need to do something about this. And they then again said, no. We then said, okay, no problems. These are your accounts again. We don't have an issue with it. But be aware that we're uncomfortable with the cash flow that you've put up. If a business can only ever generate 20 million, right? Then if a client gives you, say, oh, we're going to generate 25 million the following year, with no concrete plan as to how they're going to drive that extra $5 million growth in cash flow or revenue, it's pie in the sky, right? So yes, you can have it, but then you can discount it by your rate of winning new business. And if you haven't got a track record of winning new business, the highest rate I can give you will be about 5%. So you can take 5% of 5 million. There was something along the line of the conversation we had with a client. They accept it, so they moved it back. The last one was actually checking the NPV calculation. They actually buggered it up. They actually had the order of cash flow wrong. First year should have been zero, but they put a big number in the first year, so that had the compounding impact. So their asset was overstated by 1.2 million. So that's a real life example.